The survivor team has been on the run for 8 months in the end of the world, and now they have accidentally found a prison, which can be called a rare sanctuary in the post-apocalyptic world. Rick spent 2 days clearing the square and parts of the prison of zombies. Now that there is very little food left, they must find the prison's canteen and infirmary as soon as possible. By the next day, everyone will be looking for weapons all collected together, ready to search the rest of the prison. The crowd began to organize the equipment. Carl originally wanted to follow the action, but was stopped by Rick. The prison aisles were dark and quiet, with a few long dead bodies lying on the floor, and since they didn't find a topographical map, they had to feel their way forward, marking the walls as they went to make sure the team could find their way back. But not long before Rick found an anomaly. The corpse on the ground had obviously just been chewed, and there were probably zombies nearby. A few people immediately on guard, and when they came to a corner, there was a large number of zombies gathered there. Rick hurriedly shouted for everyone to retreat. Rick called for everyone to flee, but zombies had already occupied the road they came from. No way! The crowd can only run towards the depths, but the last Maggie and Glenn were suddenly blocked by zombies. In order to avoid the zombies, the two could only hide in a side room. A few people escaped safely only to find that Glenn and Maggie did not follow. They could not leave the two behind, and we could only return to the aisle again. But the original zombies were here but did not know where to run. Whenever passing the fork in the road, Hershel would always call the names of two people. At this time, Glenn and Maggie also heard no movement outside, carefully opened the door, and came out. The same softly called out to the crowd. Coincidentally, Hershel heard. He slowly came this way, but then the accident happened. The corpse on the ground suddenly rose. A bite on the calf of Hershel. Heard the screams. Rick rushed over to support, in a hurry to shoot the zombie to solve. Glenn, 2 people heard the sound, also rushed over to see her father was bitten. Maggie was a time of pain, but now was not a time to be sad because just the sound of gunfire. The nearby zombies all attracted over. Rick and Glenn rushed to pick up Hershel, ready to retreat, but the way back is also all zombies. Finally, the crowd can only come to a door. T-Dog with tools to break the handcuffs on the door opened the door after the crowd quickly rushed in. As the door was closed, the zombies behind them also caught up. T-Dog rushed to use the iron bar will be stuck in the door, and here is the canteen they are looking for. Hershel lying on the floor moaning in pain. Maggie some panic and does not know what to do. Rick immediately decided to cut off Hershel's calf. He let Daryl hold him down, tightening the thigh with a belt to avoid excessive blood loss, and then picked up the axe, the pain deep into the bone marrow, so that Hershel directly passed out. After doing this, Daryl found that there were even people inside peeking through the window, hurriedly whispered to Rick to squat, then took out a crossbow and aimed at a few people, not expecting that there were still living prisoners inside. While a few people inside were shocked by Rick's behavior, then a few people came out from inside. They thought Rick and others were a rescue team, but did not understand why they had to cut off Hershel's calf. Hershel's leg is still bleeding. Several people simply do not have time to pay attention to these prisoners. The priority is to hurry to bring Hershel back. Glenn rushed directly into the cafeteria, cleaned out a cart inside, and put Hershel on it. Now we must leave here immediately. After getting ready, T-Dog opened the cafeteria door. Fortunately, there was only one zombie. T-Dog quickly solved it, and several people rushed to evacuate the place. The dumbfounded prisoners were a bit confused. They did not know exactly what was happening, so they decided to follow these strange people out. The good thing is that the way back was very smooth, and they did not meet the zombies. Soon, they rushed back. Daryl quickly opened the iron door, and the people carefully put Hershel on the bed. At this moment, he was unconscious. Now the team has no medical supplies. The situation is very critical. Carol and Lori can only use towels to stop his bleeding, but this is very inefficient to stop the bleeding. At this time, outside the sound of arguing, Rick told everyone to calm down. He would go out to check. Before leaving, he explained to Glenn if Hershel did not hold up, turned into a zombie, must not be emotional, and must ensure the safety of everyone. Glenn promised. He knows what to do. Afterward, Rick rushed to the outside. It turned out that just when everyone was desperately trying to save Hershel, Daryl had been on guard outside. He used a crossbow aimed at the only entrance here. Not long after, just a few prisoners came in from the darkness. The leader of Tomas told Daryl that inside was their cell. Now they wanted to go in. Daryl directly refused and told a few people, "You were lucky. George Asia had pardoned you. Now you can go." After hearing that they could get out, several others felt they should leave there immediately. They had been stuck there for too long, and all wanted to get out and find their families. Tomas, but very alert, ordinary citizens suddenly broke into the prison, which meant there was no place to go outside. Daryl let him go out to see for himself. Tomas wanted to break in. T-Dog directly with a gun came out, and the atmosphere was instantly tense. Just as the two sides were at war, Rick arrived and gestured that we could talk it out, but Tomas asked a few people in return. A few people are silent. T-Dog and Daryl look a little speechless. Feelings of the end of the world outbreak for so long. These people do not know anything. After Rick's questioning, several people said that when the prison had an unprecedented riot, some prisoners and guards began to attack people around them like crazy, and it soon turned into an unparalleled riot. One guard locked them into the canteen to protect them and left his gun behind, saying he would be back soon. But now 10 months have passed, and they had expected a rescue team to come soon. Rick told them there would be no rescue team. There was no government, no hospital, no army, and nothing out there now. A few people were in disbelief. And then they came outside, and the prisoners, who had been locked up for nearly 300 days, finally saw the sunlight again, and they had never missed the wire mesh so much. But after seeing the bodies around them, they had to believe Rick's words. Tomas also realized that now the prison is a safe place. He immediately had other ideas. He told Rick you could live outside in the open space, where it would be more comfortable. The implication is ready to take over the whole prison. Rick did not get angry, just nodded and said that they intended to use it to grow crops. They destroyed the zombies here. The prison belongs to them, but Tomas did not want to give up, claiming that they were here first. The prison should be theirs. Rick laughed. Tomas did not care about this and said this place was theirs. The two sides instantly saber-rattling. T-Dog also leaned over with a gun. Rick behaved very calmly. The other side. As long as the action, he would quickly wipe out a few people. Daryl is also on the sidelines, ready to go. Tomas sees the situation is not good, feels Rick and a few people are not easy to mess with, can only temporarily concede, and let Rick and a few people help clear out some cells. Rick guessed that the canteen must have stored a lot of food to make a few people stay in it for 10 months and still fat. Rick offered to use half of the food in exchange before helping them to clean out a cell, followed by Rick's warning to a few people. This time Tomas did not dare to retort. He felt the obvious killing intent from Rick. At this time several people came to the canteen. Rick saw so many supplies when some shock. Since the escape, he had never seen so much food. Rick counted, temporarily brought back a part. Everyone can finally eat a full meal. They have never been so rich. But there is also bad news. That is, Hershel is still in a coma, and whether he can survive depends on himself. Rick asks Glenn to use his handcuffs on Hershel handcuffed, and although he hopes that Hershel can survive, he still wants to be just in case. Afterward, Lori found Rick and asked about the prisoners. Rick said he would help them clean out a cell. Living under the same roof is risky, but for now, it's the only way. But Lori said if necessary, they could all be killed. Rick sigh. And now you say killing is okay. Lori is still explaining, but Rick never forgets the look in her eyes at first. Although Lori understood Rick is not a cold-blooded killer and has been thinking about the big picture, everything is too late. Rick now simply do not want to talk to her more. Waiting for the afternoon, Rick is ready to lead a few people to clear out of the cell. Before the action, Daryl told them that until the last resort, try not to shoot. The sound of gunfire will only attract more zombies. Rick also warned several people no matter how close the zombies were, they must maintain the formation. Don't run around, kill zombies, must attack the head. Listening to Rick and other people's lectures, Tomas acted very disdainfully. He doesn't need Rick to teach him how to kill. Then, the crowd began to move. They carefully in the aisle forward. At this time, two zombies appeared in front. Without waiting for Rick, several people gave orders. Several prisoners shouted and rushed up. Then Rick, a few people are shocked. You guys are sure not to be funny. These people together is not as good as Carl. 3 people want to turn their heads and leave.